This podcast is sponsored by The Crazy Cast and Human Wire Productions at human-wire.com.
And The Gypsy Haven, Elgin's only witch shop at www.thegypsyhaven.com and onlinewiccansupplies.com.
Two witches.
You mean like witchcraft?
Sharing their opinions and beliefs about the practice and theory of magic.
Must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch, yeah. Must be the season of the witch.
Hey guys, this is Feather
And LeFay.
Welcome back to the Season of the Witch.
Welcome back, everyone. Happy almost Beltane.
Yeah.
And post Pink Moon.
Yeah.
We're still in the throes of the strong. It's a pretty strong moon this time around.
Well, gelling under it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
You called it the pink moon. I called it the wind moon. Yeah, even though there wasn't a whole lot of wind, it was kind of nice.
That was very surprising for the weather we've been having.
Yeah.
All right, enough with the niceties. Why are we here? We'll try and wrap that up quickly. Hopefully this is going to be one of my favorites to talk about for a while, and it's an ever so necessary bit of information. We're going to go over spells.
Yes.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Spells are fun. Spells are fun. They're not absolutely necessary as a daily practice, but if and when you do choose to incorporate spell work into your life, I guess we're going to be breaking down some of the not essentials, but suggestions.
I'm going to cover some of just the basics behind it, so we have a good solid understanding, and then we wanted to focus on protection spells, because as you learn going forward, when you start to try and figure out spells, there is every kind of spell under the sun and moon possible.
And the fact that we just got through speaking about psychic vampires and all that nastiness last time. So, yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, and like you were saying, I mean, with the shop, you've got kind of some popular spells that go out the door on a consistent basis.
Yeah, typically people come in for spell work on love, healing, money. I need money. And then a lot lately too, and I really think that it's because of the change of the season. People are coming in because the world is in a muck, as is everybody else's. You're not alone, but they need protection.
Planets in retrograde now.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the retrogrades are kicking everybody's ass, and I had a really, really nice lady come in this afternoon, and it started off that she wanted to banish her ex-husband out of her life, and then she had deep concerns about a teenage daughter, and then refreshingly, and it wasn't even really much of my doing, she decided that instead of taking such an aggressive approach using spell work on other people, that she should make some changes in herself, which was amazing. So that's what I'm all about right there.
Is that serious understanding of the intent behind it has to be the right intent for the right application.
Well, in my own opinion, I'm going to say yes, and there's plenty of people that will beg to differ, and we all do spell work for our own reasons, and everybody has their own intention, and if you're willing to deal with the karmic repercussions as to doing things against what I call simple rules, so be it. You knock your fucking socks off. I'm going to sit back and eat some popcorn and watch this shit, because that's going to be fun.
Even for effectivity. I wouldn't even say just for offensive versus defensive, it's not, people will call it black and white sometimes in the very, I wouldn't call it misinformed, but it's definitely not how we tend to go about things. There is no such thing as a black or a white intention.
No.
So I went with describing it as offensive versus defensive.
Think just football.
Yeah, you've got things that are going to be going outwards and things that are going to be more focused inwards. And acknowledging and recognizing the right intent will, I feel, have a better effect on the outcome rather than one of my favorite examples from the store is somebody who came in looking for love but got nothing but lust because of how the spell was performed and what he did with it. And as soon as he described it to me, I was like, oh, you pulled in lust.
Well, typically I find that is more of a lack of detail in the intention and in the affirmation, and keeping it so broad that the universe is like, okay, I think I know what you mean. So me guessing here, I'm just going to start throwing shit at you, and I hope that this is kind of what you wanted. And you're sitting down on you know, on little Earth here going, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted this. Well, the universe is like, well, bitch, be more specific.
Right. You
next
have to,
time.
you have to recognize and have a good solid intent before you do any of the legwork, aka spell work.
Right. And it even going, you know, back and forth between offensive and defensive manipulation, all of the tools are still the same, you know, most of the herbs and all of this stuff, it's still going to be the same, but the intention is the key. The direction. Are you sucking energy to you? Are you pushing it away from you? And I think that's a breakdown where people really need to sit down and kind of, I want to say homework, but I'm not going to call it homework. Homework to me is more sitting down and studying.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
No, nobody. You need to make some time for that because that's kind of necessary. Homework to me is more sitting down with the herbs and the stones and the timing with the alignments of the planets and everything else like that.
Planning and preparation.
Right. No, the internal dissection of exactly what is your intention. You know, break it down and harm none. Do what you will, but that means you got to think. And really narrowing your intention down. So again, your spell is very precise. It's just
Mind the gap.
Mind the gap? No, what?
Any random pauses there?
Okay.
Calling us out on a thinking pause.
All right, offensive versus defensive.
One thing I wanted to bring up, just touch upon real quick. We don't have to go into this necessarily because everyone's allowed to have their different belief systems. So I like to incorporate, and I know you do too, the rule of 3. Only because then it forces me to really sit down and break down my intent and really dissect it. Because if I think about every possible repercussion or thing that could come out of this, as the universe could be so generalized, it makes me really, really go into detail. And then I find the intricacies that make that spell pop and do something a little bit more than just be a shamble of words I've thrown together.
And even when I sit down and do the exact same thing, because again, it really, really forces you to think about things. I think one of the reasons why I don't practice spell work as often as people think that I do is the fact that by the time I'm done tearing everything apart, making sure that, you know, what I'm asking for isn't going to have repercussions on anybody else, you know, by the time I'm done, I'm like, you know what? There's no way possible for me to put this out there and not affect somebody. But the cool thing about that is that through that introspection and that dissection, I actually realize the root of the problem that I'm having, and bingo, I fix it without magic.
And you're just
That's
having to
cool.
include the psychology behind it.
Well, how much of this is psychology? There's a lot of psychology behind this.
Yeah, it's... I think it really comes in handy, and this is where we're pretty confident in saying, no, we're not crazy.
No, I am very confident. Fuck you if you think I'm crazy.
Because when somebody looks at me, it's like, you believe you can cast a spell and have an effect on things? It's like,
yeah.
Absolutely.
I do it every day. I may not break out the ritualistic tools and stuff, but yeah. What's a spell? It's energy manipulation.
Exactly.
So,
well, a spell, I mean, even I have the definition, of course, basic things, but, you know, a spell is just a set of words, unspoken or spoken, that invokes a magical effect. So it's would you call it, because you can have magic manipulation, but then you've got a spell, and I think a spell is its own being, and You always have magic in a spell, but you don't have to have a spell for magic.
You know, I kind of like going back to that old phrase, you know, come over, hang out with me, let's sit for a spell. You know, where did that come from? That's, you know, I like to think of it very general without the whole hocus pocus and flash of fireworks and shit going on. Sit, you know, let's sit for a spell. I'm sitting down, I'm exchanging my energy with you, you know, and by the time we're done, we've actually created something, whether we've provoked thought in each other, you know, it's like, just sit for a spell. You know what? By the time we've ended a conversation, we're in the kitchen whipping up a batch of burritos together. I don't know. You know, you never know what's going to come out of your energy meshing with something or someone else's energy.
Right. So
that to me is a spell. You know, I mean, but that's just being super duper simple. Just very topical.
If you look at like Appalachian magic versus South African magic versus other things, I think when they're saying a set of words spoken or unspoken, it's that putting that intent into a train of thought. So even if you're just thinking very specifically about something when you're by yourself, it's just that interaction or putting that energy into a direction.
Well, even thinking and thinking hard, you are creating change.
Concentration and visualization.
Very
magic.
much so. Yeah. I mean, I have a deaf girlfriend. You know, she's mute and she's deaf and she can't say anything.
Right.
So does it mean that she has to speak an affirmation out for it to work?
No, of course not.
No, she thinks it. And my big thing is going beyond thinking, and it's actually feeling what you're thinking. It's really easy. Anybody and everybody thinks. You know, our brains explode. But even with our own personal power and not incorporating all the big glamorous, you know, tools with a big fancy spell, if you can actually incorporate your own personal power and think about something so hard that you actually feel something new come over you, you know, that this wave, this wash, and you actually feel it. It's actually really neat.
I'm sure there's neurochemicals being released, especially when you do that.
As soon as that comes over you, you've instantly become the thing that you've been thinking about. And you walk differently, you talk differently, your whole body language changes. And it's amazing. And you actually do. You will manifest exactly what you've put out.
Weight loss, one of my favorite examples for that, especially the people that, regardless of if they think they're pagan, they're Christian, they're Muslim, whatever, the ones that say they visualized it happening.
Oh, yeah.
Tend to have such a great success rate. And I'm not saying that there's numbers because I don't know those numbers.
Okay.
But you got to believe that the people that can see the progress before it happens, can see that skinny person inside them. I mean, like, even I do that. Am I performing a spell? Yeah, I believe so, especially when I know that I'm concentrating on it really hard.
Well, we can't go against physics, okay? If you're big boned, it's not like you can wish your bones into a smaller, you know, framed existence. Okay, that's not going to work, obviously. But yes, absolutely. I think that
having the stamina to continue going, making good choices, it's not like you can wish it away.
We have so much control over our body, you know, that believe it or not, if you tell your body to do something, really, really tell it to do something, and it's like, okay, you're going to behave.
Right.
You know, that was my mentality before going into surgery. It's like, you are fine. Fuck what the doctors think. The doctor's more afraid than I was. It's absolutely nothing. You are going to go in this, and you're going to come out, and you're going to heal fast, and then we're going to go outside, and we're going to have a party. You know, and it listened. It listens to you.
Yeah, you had a spooky fast recovery.
Yeah, I know. It's beautiful.
Looking at you, it's like, stop it! Moving things.
Yeah, most people tend to be envious, but the thing is anybody can do it. It's all the proper mind.
Disclaimer, though.
Yeah?
I do want to say it's not a homeopathic remedy for everything. So just for people who might think that this is the end all be all, absolutely not.
No, we still work with our physicians. You know, witch doctors still see doctors.
Yes. Yeah. So don't take this, you know, as a I can wish away anything. But I definitely think that in addition to
sure,
it aids it. It helps it become a better success rate. So add that to that. It's, the salt to your meal.
Right.
So I just wanted to go into some different things that can go into a spell, just like in the broad spectrum, because you've got your words, you've got your herbs, you've got your crystals, you've got your numbers and colors. All of these things just are components of that spell. And it can be as much or as little as you want. It can be just as simple as just a thought or an intention or a visualization, or it can go into a grand ritual.
Sure.
So
it really depends on the situation. I mean, if there are certain small spells that you can learn. There's one in particular that maybe I'll talk about later. It was actually my very first spell that I was talked through, and it was, I'm sorry. It was very cool. It was very intense. And again, I'll talk about that in a minute. And it was actually a protection spell. But
nice.
The other one is just being able to walk down the road and trust your instinct. And if you start to feel a little funky, like maybe somebody's following you that you can't see, somebody's staring at you from across the street, or you're just starting to feel uneasy. Once you start practicing certain things, as you continue to walk, you don't have to stop and make this grand spectacle of yourself, but you can actually continue to move and protect yourself.
Right.
And it doesn't even look like you haven't skipped a beat in what you were doing before, but you've actually, it can be done. No, it all starts with ourselves, and just like you said, the grander you want to make it, that's fine, but you don't have to add all the grand fireworks and all that stuff.
I think we said this during the altar episode where we were saying you can have as little or as much to your altar as you want. You use a wand to direct that energy. You use a feather, you use all these different tools or things to this spell to help that energy flow in one direction or another. But you don't need any of it.
Nope.
Pretty much just seasonings is my easiest metaphor for the moment, where it's going to make that intention all the stronger.
One thing that I have learned, though, and I don't consider them tools, because a tool to me is something that I can hold in my hand, I can put on an altar, I can put in a box if I need to, okay? But one thing that I very much do take in consideration is the timing of spells.
Okay.
And we can't tell the planets to align when we want them to, or we don't have any control over the moon. It is something that I had to learn in the very beginning that, you really want timing on your side. And if you don't understand timing, maybe we can have a podcast on that sometime, because timing is actually very crucial for the success of larger spells. For instance, Void of Course, when the planets or excuse me, the moon is going from one zodiac sign to another, it has a dark period, and we call that Void of Course. And any seasoned witch will tell you that is the most inappropriate time to do any type of spell work.
It's pretty much just dead energy at that point.
Yeah, simply because it kind of goes into that static zone, between, one TV station has a clear picture and the next one is static, and then the third one is a nice clear picture.
Right.
You're sending your intention into that static zone, and you have no idea what's going to happen to it.
Right. You want to focus on whether or not the moon's waxing or waning for bringing things in versus pushing things out. I mean, a lot of the times...
And even the days of the week, have specific,
Fridays are going to have a different energy than a Monday.
Right. So learning the timing of spells. And again, I didn't anticipate on getting into that this evening, but for the future, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Important.
Because, we could spend quite a bit of time talking about that, but we have other things to talk about tonight.
Controversial topic, because some people, again, it's all per your discretion. The words that you use... I know that we're kind of wrapping around this again, but there are authors that'll say that you should have them rhyme.
Yeah.
Some that say it doesn't matter, it's your intentions. I will say, when you're writing a spell and you take the time to make it rhyme, the there's definitely, for me, and I'm terrible. I'm a terrible poet. I like to write, but I cannot do rhyming skills.
Okay.
I just suck at it. So that extra effort that I put in, it's another reason why I like doing it, because even though I hate it, I know that effort and timing has been put into it.
Well, that makes sense. And from what I read a long time ago, and it made sense to me as well, is that one of the reasons why spells rhyme, that certain words rhyme, is so that it's easier to remember.
Right.
So when you're doing this chant over and over and over again, and you've done it several times, you know, the next time you come back to it, you're like, you've got this little tune in your head, you know, and it's like, bam, got it.
The flow's a little easier, I will agree.
However, one of the reasons why I'm against affirmations that rhyme is that when you've programmed your brain into memorizing anything, over time, it could very well become robotic.
It loses its meaning.
It does. And so you're spitting these words out just because your brain knows what to say, but you've actually lost touch as to what it means. You're not feeling it anymore. So even with my affirmations, they tend to come straight from the heart. I don't care if I'm stumbling over my words, Spirit's going to forgive me. You know, it's like, oh shit, I just completely mispronounced this word. You know, oh shit, you know, my spell is doomed. No, it's okay. You're allowed to fuck up.
Right.
You know, I can't pronounce, you know me, the names of the runes. You know, it's like, oh, how do I say this? Yeah. And the only, but typically if I can't pronounce it, you know, especially if it comes to a deity. Yeah. And if it's a deity and I'm trying to be all fancy and talking Latin or something, if I don't know what it is that I'm saying, and I'm like totally slaughtering how I say this thing, I don't want to insult any like higher deity. So you know what? I'm just not even going to say that word.
Out of respect, I would say it's better to learn how to say it correctly. But especially if it's in your head and everything, I feel like there's a more one-on-one connection to spirit, to the deities themselves and everything. And they would be able to interpret your emotional status as you're saying these things. So the anxiety that you're showing with, oh shit, did I mispronounce this, will come through, I'm sure.
You know, and even if you're slightly paranoid, like I can be when it comes to certain things like that, you know, if it, you know, I don't know, let's pick somebody. Who's one that has...
Bludowith.
Bludowith. How else would you pronounce that?
You're looking for multiple pronunciations?
Well, like my Morrigan. Somebody pronounce it Morrigan.
Right.
And then some like myself, I'd pronounce it the Morrigan.
Okay.
Right? So say, for instance, they are two completely different deities. And I pronounced one and I meant the other one. Okay? So what I would wind up doing, and I'm not sure, because I've done my homework, and there's all kinds of, it says this way and this way, and I'm like, oh my God, somebody just fucking tell me
which
one it is, and oh my God, now I can't talk to this person. No, that's not true. I'm going to say, all right, I am calling you the Morrigan. And this Morrigan, this is the Morrigan I'm talking about, the goddess of this. Blah, 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 blah.
Very specifically.
Right. So forgive me if you don't appreciate being called Morrigan, and if you actually like Morrigan. I don't know that. And maybe over time you can tell me. But for now, this is the one that I'm addressing.
Right.
So I will show humility. I will show ignorance when it comes to things that I don't know 100%, you know, and that's, for me, that it keeps it pure. So even though I'm not perfect with things, it is perfect. Oh, Jesus. You know, even though it's not perfect, it is still perfect for me, because by the time I'm done, I would not have changed a thing, even though I could not pronounce this particular word.
Right, and that's part of... I like the homework that goes into preparing a spell.
Oh, I do too. I love it. 3 weeks, baby. 3 weeks it takes me for fucking spell work.
Right.
For big ones.
Big ones.
Big ones, right.
I mean, some I have daily spells that I do, but they're more like continuous. I just keep adding to the same spell.
Yeah, that's like you and your nutmeg and cinnamon and your coffee every morning. You know?
And that is a consistent thing, and I will keep doing that. One, because it tastes delicious.
Right.
Two, because it reminds me and keeps bringing that same thing. But I consider that one spell. Mm-hmm. And then there's other ones that, it will take up to 3 weeks, or even bigger ones. Mm-hmm. Where I'm waiting to get the right ingredients, and I have such a very...
I hate that.
Yeah.
That really bothers me.
It's like, it's out of season right now. You have to wait 6 months.
No. There are substitutions.
Absolutely.
There are substitutions. You don't have to have exactly what it says. Just look it up. Do your homework, like what you said. Homework is actually fun, but I like homework. A lot of, there are plenty of people listening to us right now who are like, don't like homework, too hard, brain bleed. Well, you know what?
This is a really tough path for you then.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough path. And don't come to the shop and expect us to do all the homework for you, because that's right, bitch. If you're not willing to help yourself, I ain't willing to help you either. Get over it.
This should be a fun and exciting thing to do. I mean, I don't expect every Wiccan to be a nerd. I don't expect us all to be... I mean, listening to this podcast hopefully counts as some bit of homework. You're learning something out of this. Yeah. Hopefully it inspires you. We've got the blog. If you want hyperlink after hyperlink after hyperlink, I've got them for you. So at least there should be easier ways of doing it. And this is definitely more of a religion / path / concept / whatever you want to call it. Whatever, even if it's just a hobby for you. This is something that requires a lot of reading.
It does.
A lot of ingestion, a lot of reflection, but then you get some really cool outcomes.
Yeah, even, I think it was yesterday, we had 2 kids come in, referrals from a friend of ours that, nice kids, young kids, don't know where to start, all interested. They talked to my husband, and they talked to me for a bit, and my husband had directed them to a book that we really push on anybody that's beginning, and I'm actually going to give a shout out to it. It's, yes, I push it hard. It's The Idiot's Guide to Wicca and Witchcraft. Love it, love it, love it. Anyway, we put it in their hands.
Low price!
Yeah, it's excellent price. But he got so excited that he started all these questions started flooding from his mouth. Oh, you sell spell jars. What's a spell jar? Oh my God, what does this herb do? Blah, what's this do? And, and I remember the day when I was so excited, and it was like, oh my God, the universe is mine, and I'm, I can't wait.
I'm going to learn everything.
And basically what I told him was like, okay, baby, you take this book and go home. You read the book. And then when you have questions, you come back. Okay, because if you're just going to sit here and ask me all the questions, then there's no need to buy the book. And I don't have enough time in my day to sit here and play encyclopedia for you. So go home, help yourself, educate. If you've got questions, then you come back.
I like how you start people on that one too, because you have what you like about, or what you say you like about that a lot of the times, is that it's a brief synopsis of many different topics. And then as you go on, if you have questions about those topics, don't stop and sidetrack. Finish that entire book.
Right.
Put notes, put bookmarks, whatever, on those topics. And now you've got 8 to 10 books on different subject matter that you can, fractal off to and keep learning more about one thing or another.
Right.
I mean, you and I both have this wheel of subject matter. It's like, I'm going to add this now, and then I'm going to take a break from that.
Yep.
You could never get bored.
Right. Oh, God. Again, no, you will never be bored. If you get bored, then you have no imagination and you need to go. But on the note of books, I have to throw this out there.
Yes.
Because one of our listeners, her name is Charlotte, and she's a friend of mine. I actually had tea with her a couple of nights ago, and she loaned me a book, that I have to give a shout out to. And a lot of the information that I'm actually going to be talking about derived from this book.
You had a cheat guide.
It is awesome. It was actually called The Practical Protection Magic, and it's by Ellen Dugan.
Ooh.
And it's in regards to guarding and reclaiming your power.
Nice.
It is an amazing book. I've never read Ellen Dugan before.
Okay.
Scott Cunningham tends to be one of my favorite authors.
He's a fallback for me.
But I don't know. She's going to give, I'm definitely going to be checking out some more of her information. Everybody is kind of getting to know my sense of humor on here, and I don't really mind my tongue. I just spit out what it is that I'm thinking.
Does she write like a person wants to read?
Oh, somebody who likes a dirty mouth. Anybody who likes me is going to like Ellen Dugan.
Nice.
Because she's all right. She doesn't say shit and twat as often as I do, and fuck this and fuck that, but she is very honest, and she just like,
it's
you're not
written
like
in
this.
Well, not stone, but it's being published and printed multiple times. I don't expect her to maybe have the same vocabulary. Hopefully not.
She's fun. She's a lot of fun. She had me chuckling, and she was very entertaining. She was captivating, and I'm not an easy one to captivate. I'm really not.
You have read so many different styles of books and kinds of books that especially with Wiccan books, I've noticed that there's kind of a trench that writers fall into.
Yeah.
Either they're incredibly fluffy, or they can be very straight to the point, dry,
Right.
without a whole lot of
Cool
theory.
story, bro.
Right.
So it's trying to find that golden balance of, good writing with good facts. Which is rare.
Well, again, Practical Protection Magic by Ellen Dugan. And thank you, Charlotte, for introducing me to this book. I hope anybody else who reads this loves it as much as I do, because it's pretty fucking rocking. Anyway, that was my shout out for the night.
Yeah, I've got my book that I just wanted to mention because it was actually kind of helpful in I like this book for a beginner to spells.
Okay.
It's the Craft compilation by Dorothy
Morrison.
Yeah,
she's pretty badass too.
I loved that book because I borrowed The Craft from you and read through that really quick, and then I went over to Half Price Books and found the companion book that goes with it. And that I love because a lot of the times when I look at spells, I like having kind of like a jumping point.
Okay.
But I will always create my own.
Right.
I don't ever, and she actually pushes that really hardcore in her book. And I like that it's not just, here's a bunch of examples of spells, go out and do them. It's like, okay, here's a starting, she works exactly like me. And the companion guide even has blank pages next to the spells so that you can write your own in. So it's like a journal book in one.
I'm very happy that we have access to all of it, though. Even at the shop, we have spell books. We have pre-made spell kits, for beginners and stuff. And then, of course, we sell essential oils and loose herbs and that kind of stuff.
All the ingredients, everything to go into it.
So we kind of, and I mean no offense to it, for, we have what I call the young witch magic, and then we have the intermediate witch magic, and then we have the more advanced witch magic.
It's like cooking a cake or baking a cake.
But when it comes to working, I'm going to say with certain herbs, okay, before just going straight to the big girl magic and playing with nothing but straight up herbs, you have to understand that there is homework involved in it. That there are contraindications, that there are certain herbs that you don't want to mess with for certain things with bare skin. You don't want them to burn. You don't want to inhale that stuff.
You're only supposed to use the petal, and you end up only finding the root, which is going to completely have an issue with the leaf of this other ingredient that you're planning on using.
It's called contraindications. Anything that can harm you. Okay? So when it comes to the pre-made spell kits, it's already, all that stuff is taken into consideration. They have all the herbs. It's all safe. It has instructions. It's really simple. You don't have to know, how to draw down the moon. You don't have to know pretty much anything. Everything is there for you, which is great because it gets people from the just reading, knowing the fact that they want to apply some things in a very simple, safe way. It's
stepping from the will to the dare.
Right. In comparison to, yes, eventually when it's like, I've done a prosperity spell, a half dozen times, and different ones. Okay. I'm getting somewhat familiar that this particular herb is becoming very popular, and I'm seeing it constantly repeat itself.
Right.
So I've learned a thing or two about this herb. So now when I get to the big girl stuff, I know all about that herb. Eventually you're going to build up, and we do encourage you, just like Dorothy Morrison says, you want to eventually build up where you're not duplicating anybody else's spell. You're going to eventually create your own spell.
Right, and that means...
Do it!
Yeah. No, and I tend to be a pushy bitch. I'm like, just put on your big girl pants and go do it.
Right.
When it comes to spells, it's okay to start off small.
I like the little spells. I mean, like you said, as much as I like interacting with magic and spirit and everything, actual spell work, I keep very minimal and for very specific moments. So I'm still in the process. I wouldn't call myself a beginner,
right? But
I'm definitely still learning which recipes work better than others. I still have some trial and error to go.
And that's what you and I have in common is we like the homework. Mm-hmm. I sit down with a bottle of wine and let's dig into our books and compare notes. I like doing that shit.
Yeah.
It's, and if they're growing a new herb and, in this part of the world is oh, that's cool.
We'll nerd out about all sorts of witchy stuff.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy, I'm too organized for my own good. I like finding, all the pieces to my big puzzle. And my puzzle is that 1,000-piece puzzle where, a simple spell is kind of like that big puzzle with big pieces and it has, 10 pieces to it and that's it. I like the big ones. But it doesn't mean that you have to jump right into a 1,000-piece puzzle spell. You start off simple.
And I think one of the fun things that keeps me going is when I start to connect, when things start to connect themselves to the point where it's like a spider web, where all of a sudden you're looking at this, like you're saying, this herb that keeps popping up that all of a sudden is always associated with, and I start to see it, and then the synchronicities start to pop in, and that homework that you do for these spells, I really do feel like it's a law of attraction thing. You start learning about it, and all of a sudden it starts to become a thing, and you start pulling it in even before you've done that spell because you're so focused on it.
Right. No, it's... I don't know. Let's talk about protection spells.
Okay, so...
Protection spells. Psychic vampires.
Many different kinds.
Yeah. Can we start off with something really, really simple as far as... I don't know if we spoke about it with the tools or anything, but I think the amulets and talisman really play a big role in the offensive versus defensive types of spells.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both rock amulets on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and typically, I've been wearing more talisman lately than amulets.
Okay, you're right. That is,
right now.
Yeah.
And the difference, and you may hear some conflicting things, and I came up with my own conclusion, and so this is what works for me. But basically, an amulet and a talisman. And a talisman is a symbol, maybe on a piece of jewelry or, something that you can draw yourself. But a talisman brings things to you, where an amulet keeps things away from you. It wards right. So if I'm doing a spell for empowerment or strength or compassion on myself, then I'm going to want a talisman.
Right.
I'm bringing these things to me. Whereas what we're about to talk about, protection spells, you can wear more of an amulet that keeps things. It's kind of like Teflon.
This one for me, the labradorite, is the one that I recognize. And you have yours that you wear quite commonly, which is what I usually think of immediately, is not only is that stone, just apt for doing that, but just wearing it as that, it just creates its own super barrier.
Yeah, and I don't really consider my gemstones amulets or talisman.
Okay.
I really don't. But that's cool that you do, that you call it that.
Yeah.
A talisman or an amulet is more like what do they call this? Seal of Solomon or something like that?
More like man-made.
Yeah.
Symbols.
Even a pentacle, can be considered a tool like that. Well, and my triple moon that I'm wearing right now. I wouldn't really consider this an amulet or a talisman because it's the triple moon is just a representation of balance. And you wouldn't consider
that does that bring balance to you then?
It doesn't. I wouldn't necessarily say that this brings me balance. It reminds me.
Okay.
I don't use this to bring balance to my life. I do other things.
But if you're being reminded of it subconsciously, don't you think that you would start with attracting, and just even if it's a constant reminder of it?
I suppose so.
I'm going to make it work.
No, that's cool. No, challenge it. It's fine. No, if it's another talisman, like I just purchased one not so long ago, and it's the Guardian of the Quarters.
Okay.
And that's actually more of an amulet rather than a talisman.
Right.
But if I wanted to flip it and call it a talisman, then I could say that it is bringing the strength of the 4 elements to me.
Right.
But as an amulet, I would be saying that they are in unison together. All their forces are keeping negativity away from me.
Okay, so it can be multi-purpose at that point.
Sure. But, amulets versus talisman, and it is a big tool that, we'll get talking into. Yeah, there it is right there. Keep Solomon. Whee! Okay.
So as we're going into just kind of protective spells in general, you tend to be really strongly associated with water and earth, or more so. Mm-hmm. You and I are both, strangely enough, 4 elements represented in our astrology charts. Mm-hmm. But
I know that's kind of cool.
It's not super usual, but I don't know the statistics on that one either, so I'm not going to say anything. I don't know, but I tend to be closer to my air and fire elements, so just fire spells and air spells versus water and earth spells.
Dirty earth.
I like using earth a lot in general, just including the gemstones and everything. So fire is, if you want to call it a fire spell, it's just more what I would say, like when fire is the primary focus of that spell, or the main ingredient of that spell.
Right.
So I like burning a lot of things.
Oh, I'm a pyro at heart. I just want to set like a lot of shit on fire. The bigger the fire, the better. But it doesn't mean that if you just have a candle burning in front of you is any less than a roaring campfire in the backyard. You don't have to set your house on fire to perform a good fire spell.
We were talking about having cauldrons and censers and everything. Just something so that really when you talk about fire spells, you're either creating something, but with creation comes destruction, and vice versa. You can't have birth without death and death without birth. And so a lot of that has to do with kind of more aggressive protection. Or how would you say?
Typically when I'm describing fire magic to people that come in that are looking for certain kinds of spells, I generally tell them that I would say at least 95% of the people that come in go straight for the candles. And which is awesome, because I think all of us have a pyro deep down inside of us, Some of us just can admit it, louder than others. But the difference between the elemental spells is that fire magic is absolutely, it happens immediately, but it is very surface. It's a surface type spell that doesn't go very deep.
Right.
It happens, boom, just like that. But the thing is, and it's intense, but it doesn't last long. It dissipates quickly, like within 3 to 4 days.
Right.
So it depends. If your intention is for something very quick, light, airy. Okay, not airy. Strike that word, okay?
A flash in the pan.
Yeah, very, very quick. That's when I tell them,
intense, but fast burning.
Right. Then, then fire magic is wonderful. in comparison to, I'm an earth girl, though. I live and breathe for earth spells.
I tend to like including a lot of different elements and just as per needed. So a lot of times I'm not looking at it first as a elemental spell. I'm just looking at it as like, oh, well, I'm going to be including this, that, and the other thing. I better find something to bring that fourth element in there because I like that balance.
Well, yeah, almost all spells incorporate 4 elements.
Right.
But you've got one big dog.
Right, the major guy
really,
in there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the catalyst is something in water or, I don't know, what would you call a binding spell where you write it, then you freeze it, then you melt it, then you burn it?
It's an elemental spell, it's a little bit of everything.
Exactly.
But even with that, typically, unless you're burying something, I don't think that they are as deep. But I don't want to get, I don't want to stray off of your fire. You talking about your fire elemental spell right now. I'll get into earth in a minute, in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I said, I think that if it's mostly burning, your intention is going to go up in flames.
Right.
Whether you're burning a sigil, kind of thing, or
a candle.
Right, you're even burn your sigil from the flame of a candle.
Right.
Okay.
And either that sigil could be you're releasing it, as in you no longer need it,
right,
or you're releasing it as in to let it go and do its work.
Right.
So it's kind of destruction and creation in both ways.
See, and it's cool to hear you say that because when I talk about my spells, I talk about a little differently. And yes, you are absolutely dead on when it comes to the death and birth of anything like that. Generally, what I practice, and I tend to preach a lot too because I love it so much, is that when somebody comes in for a particular spell, you need the balance of spell work.
Right.
So typically my spells wind up being 2 spells put into 1. So I wind up doing some sort of a release, and then I immediately follow it up with a spell that brings something back in.
Right.
So I will get rid of something that does not serve me, and I need to immediately fill that with something healing, and healthy. So I will follow it up. So
it's kind of the purge and bring forth.
Right. So I may have a combination. It could be both of them are using candles. So that's just a double fire spell right there.
Or you've got the double-sided candle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a fun tool. And that definitely falls into, but that's still fire magic.
Exactly.
I meant to, my
But tell me more about your fire spells, Fire Girl.
So actually, we brought it up. My favorite one is the sigil burning one, because not only does that take the homework of creating your own sigil, so you take the time, you're trying to put all these symbols together. So it's got the subliminal, the symbolism that's going together, and if you can get something that is just this great conglomeration of everything, you know that it means something deep. And so if you want to do a protection over your home or against somebody else, say if you're under direct attack, or if you just feel like you new home, say you want to create a protection sigil for your home. If you decide to make it on something that eventually you're going to not need it anymore, create it on a sheet of paper or something that you can keep safe, or bind it together so that it's safe.
Okay.
And say you move and you're ready to release that sigil. That's when you throw it into the bonfire so that you can release it.
Sure, why not?
But if you're doing something where it's a direct attack, that's where I would say burn the sigil and release it into the universe so that it can have that effect on somebody. So
it's pointless to go and buy an alarm system and not turn it on. It's
exactly. You want to enact it.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
And I just I don't know, my favorite protection spell thing that I do, and it doesn't. I think it would be earth-based, to be honest.
That's mine.
I don't want to steal your thunder.
Don't touch my earth.
I will just mention it then. My favorite thing, and I will put the notes up eventually, I promise, is the witch's bottle.
Oh, yeah.
That counts as an earth spell.
Yeah.
So eventually, that's probably my leading, outside of burning sage and incense, different kinds, mugwort incense. You've got the black sage, fire and air. That's going to be kind of the mixture one, but a lot of that is very instantaneous, kind of repetitive spells that you can do to freshen up the area.
Yeah, and don't get addicted to fire spells. You know, it's you get a lot of people that will come in and go, "Oh my God, that candle worked! It was amazing! I got to get another one." And it's like, okay, I'm going to stop you for a second and make you realize what you're doing. Whoa! What the fuck was that?
You got literally rickrolled.
Woo! Okay. Repetition. No. It's not going to work. Eventually, that candle is not going to give you the same juju anymore. All right? Repeat fire magic fire spells don't last long.
Right.
Okay? So if you need something to last longer, you need to go to a different elemental spell.
Something that's slower moving.
That's
something
earth.
That's, right.
Yeah.
Even water.
Water and air tend to go at their own flow. It's real unpredictable.
I tend to think air is flittier, a little more kind of like either it speeds up really fast. It's like travel. It's a lot of different things where it's just kind of like all of a sudden, but not immediate.
Right.
It just kind of shows up at its own pace.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why air and water spells are not as popular, because the timing can be unpredictable as to when. But at the same time, you can't predict anything. Ultimately you have no control over the time. Once you release the spell, poof, it's gone, and it's up to the universe. And fuck you and your control. You got no more control.
Right.
It is just kind of known, you know, that fire tends to happen quickly and dissipates quickly. Whereas,
once you set it, it's going to burn out at its own pace, but it's pretty predictable.
So, you know, fire spells, I like doing fire spells when I'm waiting for an earth, air, or water spell to come to fruition. Then I will kick in, and that just like makes me happy for a couple of days, and then I can forget about it for a bit. And
I like a lot of positive fire candle spells. Maybe I don't quite use it for like big stuff.
Right.
I'll use it as like an extra thing on there, or an extra topping, or kind of like, I want a boost.
Right.
I want a little happiness. I want a little success, or
jolt of caffeine.
Pretty much.
And then and then it starts to go down, but you don't want to keep doing the caffeine thing over and over and over again.
You're going to lose I already have gotten to that point. 18 ounces of caffeine just to make myself go in the morning.
Right. All right. You did fire. Do you want me to do one of mine?
Please.
I'll do water. I'll leave earth for last, because earth is my favorite.
And it's a good protection. There's so much. Earth is a protection element to begin with.
Well, I'm going to skip, and I'm going to go ahead and go to water. And typically, water spells are used more for working with emotions. Okay? Yeah, because that's what the West dominates in, is the realm of emotion. And it's very cleaning, it's purifying, it's a very clean type spell. Where in comparison to earth, that gets all down and dirty, which is cool. Water, it's washing things away. It's literally washing things away. So, I have a healthy respect for lightning, but I love lightning storms and thunderstorms. And one of my favorite things to do on a hot summer night when it's raining cats and dogs outside is to go outside and play Frisbee. I love playing Frisbee in the rain. It's just so much fun. But just being outside when it's raining, okay, is a huge thing. And getting to know that element and feeling actually what it does and how it makes you feel. Once you begin establishing this relationship, you're going to take that feeling and apply it to spell work.
Yeah, being able to recognize that element and then being able to connect with it later on becomes so much easier.
And it's the same thing even when we meditate, okay, and we're working with elements. And I'm talking about water right now. You'll get to the point when you're working with water that when, water can be as gentle as condensation in the air, that the smallest of, specks of dew on your face.
Morning dew. Huge properties behind that.
And the massive opposite extreme to that, is your tsunami tidal wave that just like pulverizes you and you're dead. But the intensity of that element is amazing, but it is element of emotion. So cleansing, if we need to rid our auras of shit, okay, we've just been shat on all day by everybody, and we just like, I just need to get clean. We take ritual baths, just to cleanse the shit off, or showers. A shower is just as good. Close your eyes and it feels like you're in a rainstorm. I personally really enjoy soaking with my herbs and my salts, releasing the essential oils and letting that soak in. So keeping, and they're very, very simple spells. A lot of pre-made spells are revolving around
like bath
water
salts
spells
and the different ingredients that you include in there.
Right. But then look at streams. I mean, we live right on the Fox River, okay, which is awesome. Even when we lived in Hoffman Estates, we had a man-made lake, and it had this little artificial dam, and the water's running from the rocks and stuff, and it wasn't a natural flow, it was forced,
right?
But it still wasn't coming from my tap, right? So I used to love taking all my stones, like Little Red Riding Hood. I had them in a little basket, and I'm like, oh, cute, and I walk out there and I put my stones one at a time through that running water.
Yep.
Okay, not only does it cleanse my stones, it will cleanse me too. It washes all that shit off of my aura, and it's an amazing feeling. A stream in comparison to, look at the ocean. Oh my God.
Difference.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like bubble bath, ocean, and it's like shower, tsunami, ocean, salt water. Salt
all
and
that
water.
Energy.
Holy crap. All the life in it, too.
Yeah.
That's like a whole fucking different planet, a universe.
Terrifying.
Right there.
But...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's not get eaten by Jaws while we're out there doing an ocean spell. But the simplest... Get out. The simplest of things, even to take in consideration when doing any types of water spells, too. Again, like what you said, LeFay. That there are simple spells that, with your essential oils and your herbs, cleansing, purifying, even banishing, you name it, you can take any type of a spiritual water bath. But you can also take an absorbent stone. Think of the black ones, like your obsidian, your onyx, your jet, that kind of thing. Those sponge stones. Yeah. And if you were to push all the negative energy into that stone, okay?
What about quartz then?
You can. And that's personal preference. It really is. I personally tend to stick with the black stones.
Okay.
Black tourmaline being one of my favorites.
Smoky quartz. Difficult.
Well, the thing is you're about to discard it.
Okay.
Okay, you're about to give it back. And there's some stones that I really kind of want to hang on to.
Fair enough.
Okay, so... a very, very simple spell is to go up to a moving stream, okay, river, whatever, and face it coming towards you. So, your back is to where it's going away.
Right.
And really meditate for a few minutes and push all of that negative shit that you have on you and in you into this stone.
Okay.
Okay? Once you're convinced, you're going to toss it over your shoulder into the moving water, and you're going to walk away.
And not look back.
Exactly. So, very, very simple. It's a water spell.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to air. I had a difficult time looking for spells that were only air or only fire, because a lot of the times they tend to kind of intermix with each other. So luckily you remind me of a really not simple, but for a single element spell, it's productive. Finding a feather or having a feather that you don't mind releasing. So like you were saying with your sponge stone, something that you don't mind letting float away. So don't release your prized, found blue jay feather that you really want to keep.
Right.
Keep that as a memento for your air element. But once you do that, imbuing or purging all of the negativity that you want to release into that feather. I like using like little black feathers or something like that, something that's going to soak it up.
Right.
A lot of people have different belief systems on what feather colors correspond with.
Sure.
So if you feel like you want to bring something to you, maybe find a white feather that you want to put all your hopes and maybe the attributes that you want to bring to yourself. But if you're purging and you're wanting to release something that you feel like you need to get rid of, like an anxiety or depression or something that you feel like you want to work on yourself with, then going to, a lot of spells say like a high mountain, somewhere that the wind's going to blow this feather away. And kind of like your water spell, you're going to face the direction of the wind and let that feather go. You can either... I like the idea of putting it behind your shoulder. There's some superstition to releasing over your shoulder. Some people say the left. Some people don't have a specific direction.
Right.
And releasing that feather into the wind. And by doing so, you're allowing that element to take away all of that, and you're releasing it into the universe. And that's an air.
And when you're out there, too, even...
Connecting with
out, yelling out an affirmation into the wind. That's actually really cool too.
It carries it.
Yes, absolutely. You're just all those words, everything that you're thinking and you're feeling, you're throwing out when you just found the ideal camping spot and you're on a cliff or something, and you're up and you're checking out the view and you just need to throw it out there. Throw it to the wind, literally. Your words. That in itself is pretty powerful too.
I like the idea that air, you bring that around when you want clarity, when you want happiness and freedom and inspiration to some degree, not as much so as fire, I'd say, but there is some creativity and inspiration that comes from air.
Well, that tends to be more of our intellect.
Yes, thank you. The logical side of things.
Right. That's the direction of the East. So.
Right.
I remember when I was younger and I always wanted to play outside, and I used to cuss the air because I'd be outside in the driveway and I'd be making paper mache, with balloons and stuff, or trying to do things, and the wind would pick up around me, and I had really long hair at the time, so it was all on my face and my paper's going all over the place, and I'm screaming at the air to stop it, and, it was pissing me off, and it wouldn't stop. So the more I swear it got angry, and it just kept blowing harder and harder, and I'm screaming louder and louder, and the neighbors are coming out looking at me like I'm just like this crazy child, and I'm throwing shit into the wind. I used to be such an angry little thing.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Anyway, now I've grown to love air. I mean, I still don't like having the long hair
element.
thing, but yeah.
I hate white rabbits. I swear there's something to that.
What?
Really?
What are you talking about?
Bonfires. You're supposed to say, I hate white rabbits, and it's supposed to make the smoke not blow in your direction.
Okay, I learned something new today.
That's
never
funny.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know where it came from.
I am not a witch. I've never fucking heard that before.
I don't know what it's about, and I don't know, maybe it's just like a Midwestern thing. Maybe but I know everyone's got a thing that you're supposed to say or do around the bonfire to make the wind change direction.
Oh, good for you.
Good for you.
I don't know. You haven't been to enough bonfires.
Off the top, and it just struck me too, and I'm so disappointed with myself, but it has been a long day, but there's actually an herb, and it's superstitious to a lot of, Catholics and stuff, and it's kind of cute because they're doing the exact same thing that we are. But this particular herb, if you scatter it around in your yard when an oncoming storm is approaching you, it's supposed to make the storm go around you. Yeah, and I complete brain fart. So it may come back to me in a few minutes.
Okay.
And if I do, I'm just going to kind of go like, bleh, you know, and I blurt it out. And then
everyone's done
like,
that.
Whoa,
you just have that moment where all of a sudden you just, it's like.
So if I verbal vomit an herb out of my butt, then that's what it's for.
Okay, just keep an ear out for that. That's going to be like the bonus quiz.
All right. Do we get to talk about Earth now?
The king of protection. No. Well, I wouldn't say king, but definitely.
I wouldn't even say necessarily protection. It is. A lot of people don't particularly care for Earth spells. They find them boring, and a lot of people want a quick fix. Okay, they want something to happen, and they want it to happen now, and you're not going to get that with an Earth spell.
No, it's a slow moving.
It is very, very slow moving. However, unlike fire that happens very quickly and you get the lighter things that you desire, Earth spells typically take something that has taken a long time for it to manifest within you or somebody else, like a bad habit. Okay, we don't just develop a bad habit overnight. Say for instance, you're hooked on a drug.
Right.
Okay, and it has affected you deeply and you've been doing it for a while. It doesn't even have to be a drug, it can be a behavior.
Right.
You're just a fucking bitch.
Smoking.
You know,
Smoking's a really easy one.
Yeah, just jealousy. Jealousy would be a good one.
Yeah.
These are things that strike you right down to your core, and you've had it there for a long time. Okay? It's not going to go away overnight. It is not. It is going to take some time,
right,
for the universe to start chipping away at this, but it does work. And the Earth spells, those are the ones that you want to go to for that type of thing. If you want something to manifest in your life and stick around for a long time, that's when you want to do an Earth spell. Okay? Instead of continuously burning candles in a fire spell for, let's say, fast cash.
Right.
Okay? An Earth spell for prosperity is the opposite. It is not
investments.
It is
that
right.
will come to fruition later.
The big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It is working at a career that you know it's going to give you 6 figures. Okay, that's the big stuff. So does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Where the difference is?
I mean, if you think about it, it's land. I always think about the continents shifting.
Okay,
it's a big change, but it's going to take a really long time.
But once you have patience, because you will definitely be practicing your patience when it comes to Earth spells. Once it comes to fruition, nothing can shatter it.
Right.
It is there. It is set in stone. It is like the most intense tree out there with roots that are just going 10 miles deep into the earth. You cannot shake that spell. And the fun thing with Earth spells is you get to get dirty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, water spells, you get clean. Air spells, you know, that also whisks stuff off of your aura.
It's very cleansing.
Fire is awesome because it's that pyro and the crackling and the light and the dancing around, you know.
It's new starts.
Right.
It's a lot of, letting go of things and restarting and refresh.
Earth, you get to get in dirty,
and
playing,
deeper.
And this is when you're kicking off your shoes and you're walking outside without shoes and socks on. It's really connecting to the earth.
Mm-hmm.
But primary tools that you will be incorporating into Earth spells are things that you will bury into the ground that will rot,
mm-hmm.
that will rot over time. Some people will use an egg for clearing off like auras.
Okay.
That tends to be quite popular. And then when they're done with it, perhaps they will put it in a flower pot, and grow some flowers on top of it.
Create a fertilizer or something positive out of it.
Compost. Or you can use other things too, like a potato or an apple.
Okay.
And I even spoke to a lady this afternoon as to changing some behaviorisms. She wanted to do some spell work on herself. And I had suggested an Earth spell, and it incorporated using a potato.
Okay.
And it was as simple as cutting the potato in half long ways.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the inside of the potato, not the outside. On one half of the potato, I had her carve out a tablespoon size of the potato.
Okay.
And within that, she placed specific herbs. Okay. Plus, she placed some of her own DNA.
Okay.
And no blood separate. Yeah, fingernail clippings.
Spit.
It was of her because the spell was revolved around her, not somebody else, okay? And on that same side of the potato, around that little hole of DNA and all that good stuff, she carved her name into it.
Right.
Okay, so it's very specific that this spell is revolving around me.
And only that person.
Only on that person. Now, on the other side of the potato, she was carving in the things that she wanted to get rid of about herself. Okay?
Jealousy,
insecurity,
anger.
Correct. She asked me, can I incorporate several things into this? And I suggested, and this is just me, that you keep one spell, one intention. Okay? So that way, it really is working hard on that particular intention. If you put a lot of them on there, it's not going to be as intense of an impact because it has to spread out the energy amongst 4 or 5 different intentions.
Right, and trying to kick many habits at the same time.
That's just not, that's not realistic.
Right.
So pick point one, your biggest one that you really want to work on. And you're going to carve that with something sharp. It can be a nail, I have a bowline.
Yeah.
We spoke about bowlines in a previous podcast. Something sharp, and you're going to carve in the things that you want to let go. Keeping it simple, once we're done, we're going to put the potato back together into one piece, and I take a natural twine. I use jute or hemp.
Something that will biodegrade.
Exactly. And then it doesn't have to be neat, doesn't have to be macrame or anything, pretty, but I'm going to tie the potato back together again. Okay, so it stays in one piece. I don't want it falling apart.
Right.
And then I am going to, if this is a spell that I'm getting rid of something, I'm banishing, I'm going to take this potato to a place off of my property.
Far away from you.
It, in the outskirts of the subdivision, bring it to a forest preserve, something, okay? And then you're going to bury it.
Okay.
You're going to bury it deep into the earth, and then I tend to give the earth a little thank you for accepting all my shit.
Right.
Because that's what it's doing. And then over time, this potato, this egg, this apple, whatever it is that you're planting, will start to disintegrate. It will start to rot. And as the earth is breaking down that object, it's also breaking down that thing inside of you that you've been wanting to get rid of. It's actually really, really cool, and it does work. It is very powerful.
Yeah.
A lot of times, too, people will say, well, I can't wait that long. Well, then you can do other fun things, but we'll talk about that because I'm almost done with Earth.
Right.
But some other earthly types of things that you can do is getting out and not only is it great exercise, it really is. It works the thighs and the glutes and stuff. Do some gardening. Really, do some gardening. You'd be surprised as to working on your spell techniques when you're growing something from a seed into a full plant.
There's some energy connection, and you really get well in touch with earth and the grounding aspects of things, and being able to sense the energy fields off of living things.
Power. Yeah.
I love to garden, regardless. I mean, I've always loved gardening, but now it's just a treat. Mm-hmm. And weeding sucks still, but...
Well, if you can find it, I'm actually going to look for these. So if you can keep your eyes open for me, and if you hear of them, please let me know. But there's a protective flower that, say, for instance, you're trying to protect the outside of your home, okay? You grow it in your garden, and it's an iris.
Okay.
And it's black for protection, and it's actually called Before the Storm.
Ooh.
A Before the Storm iris, and it's black with crimson undertones.
Oh, that sounds pretty.
Isn't that gorgeous?
That sounds gorgeous.
So,
are irises okay for here?
You're talking to somebody who's trying
we'll
to.
Figure it out.
I don't
we'll
know.
Find it out. We gotta find Mr. Green Thumb.
Well, we're gonna talk to Rich and Paul. Okay, friends of ours. Anyway, hey, you just got a shout out, Rich and Paul. We love you. Anyway, so even working with certain types of plants outside of your home to protect your house, okay, with the intention while you're planting it, guess what? That's a spell.
Yep.
If you are growing plants on the inside of your home for certain things to protect certain areas of your home,
that's still a spell.
That is very much a spell. Okay. So work with your gardening. Go out on hikes, camping. This wonderful earth energy too. Go fucking hug a tree. If you've got a whole lot of negative juju stuck to you and you just need, and none of your friends are compassionate, nobody wants to listen to you, everybody hates you, go eat some fucking worms. No, go hug a tree. It sounds really hippie-ish, oh, you're such a, you're a hippie. Well, you know what? Seriously, go hug a tree.
And while you're doing it, don't just think about how awkward this looks or feels or whatever.
Who cares?
How about you?
Trust me, when you say that, my first instant reaction is the social anxiety part of me. But I've done this many a times, and I know for a fact that when you can actually think, a lot of people like guided meditations, and there's a great thing about learning how to visualize and experience that feeling of literally taking from the tip of your head to your toes all the negativity and purging it out. And those trees, especially wonderful, great, big, burly, whatever your favorite tree is, they're great recipients for that. And if you can at least say thank you and appreciate it, they're not going to backfire. Most of them are very receptive to that idea. I'm making them sound very human, but
well, we tend to humanize things. But the thing is, though, too, and you're right. That look at what they do. They take the breath that we breathe out, and they turn it into what we need. They are that movement of energy. Trees are. I'm such a tree whore. I love my trees. And I've even had people come in and say, well, isn't that kind of shitty? I'm putting all of my negative energy onto this tree, and I don't want to kill the tree, blah, blah, blah. I'd much rather hug a tree than stick it on a little plant. Because you know what? You will kill your plant with a whole lot of negative energy. You will. I've done it before. Practicing spell work, it's actually a good tool to use in manipulating your energy. But trees, they've got that power and that strength.
They've got deep roots. They've got way better connection.
And it's the roots. Not only do their branches go up into the heavens, which is a connection to the spirit world, but it also brings negativity into the earth, where it neutralizes negative energy into, it's now a neutral zone.
All those gemstones came from somewhere. The earth is going to be able to handle all of your negativity and then some.
Right. So hug a tree. And if somebody laughs at you for hugging a tree, just imagine them going home and kicking their dog. Because people do certain things to express themselves.
Passive-aggressive.
And what you are doing is actually very healthy. And I love when I see somebody hugging a tree, I just sit there and I stare at them with this big shit-eating grin on my face, like, you are fucking adorable. I just want to go, I've got to talk to you. But anyway, I'll get off the tree-hugging hippie shit, and I am such a hippie at heart. Play in the dirt, stick your toes in the grass and stuff, grow some plants, garden, do some hiking and camping. Those earth spells, super duper simple. Be patient.
They're good for you, though. I mean, I'm not even that connected with earth, but I have to ground as a witch, as a practitioner, as a human.
Yeah.
I think all humans, no matter what your creed, should at least know how to ground and connect with just that deep base energy.
And it's kind of like your core.
Yeah.
That your fire is your motivation and your passion. That's the fire.
The spark that gets you going.
Right. Where your air, that's your intellect, okay, and your logic. And then your water, that's your emotion and your heart. Well, your earth, that's like the core of your being. Not the spiritual part, but having your feet, planted on the ground where you are unshakable, where fears dissipate. There's no room for fear.
Confidence.
Absolutely. Self-esteem. For people that suffer from low self-esteem and jealousy and just basic insecurities, really consider some earth spells.
Yeah. Grow. One of my favorites that we do quite a bit in one way or another is instead of putting the energy into the plant, letting that plant be a representation of the things you want to bring forth.
Oh, yeah.
And meditating around that. So I love doing that just as a really good way of bringing some stuff in that's long term, and I can keep working at it.
Yeah, And you could even start memorizing things if you wanted to get get the dirt under your nails and that kind of stuff, because I love getting dirty like that. And, typically I can't wait for the proper time to plant things outside this spring. I start early and I just put things in my windows.
Right.
And when you're planting something like sage, you're germinating sage, and it's like, oh my gosh. And, a couple weeks later you got little babies and stuff. Name it something. Name it its intention. So we know that sage is very cleansing, is purifying, right?
Right.
So, I don't know, give it a fucking nickname. Well, we're going to call this sage plant Purity. You know what I mean? And then the next one, well, this rosemary, I'm going to call it Focus. That way you're starting to relate what the intention is behind the thing that you're actually growing.
And then you're putting that into the plant as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's like not only does the plant have that intention already because of what it represents, but you have given it its job.
Mm-hmm. Here, puppy, sit.
Yeah,
right.
And it has... It wants... I honestly think that most things want to align in that direction once you give it that option to do it. Just like singing bowls.
They beg for it.
Yeah.
And, it can be a little confusing because we've been talking breaking down... elements, in spell work. And most of the time, it is incorporating all of them. Okay? Like what you were saying earlier, a lot of times incorporating
fire and air tend to be hand in hand with each other because you burn something and release it.
Right. Earth and water. But that's even working with zodiac signs, too.
Yes.
Fire and air do go hand in hand, where earth and water go hand in hand. It doesn't mean that you should not mix them up. And if you can get a spell that incorporate all four, it's amazing.
That's the balance that you are always looking for.
Right.
It occurs naturally in nature, and as above, so below. It's not wrong to not have all of the elements, but it's definitely
much more powerful.
Right.
It is. So, let's take all the examples. We started with your fire. So we've got a spell, and our fire, number one, we've got our candle going.
Right.
Okay. And let's say to incorporate more to it, you spoke about sigils.
Right.
Well, before we do the sigil, sigils off to
whatever
the side.
we figure it out with.
Right. So now we have let's do air. What can we did, you did the feather, right?
Let me just peek here. If we want to include some more stuff, how about we do like a bell, or if we wanted to, some incense?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the examples that we just spoke about this evening in your air spell. It was a feather.
It was a feather.
Releasing a feather into the air.
That was all it was.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. So we were going to burn something, right? And we've got a feather. And then my water spell was very simple as far as...
a stream and...
a stone being tossed.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have our earth. This is bringing me to a place of camping in my mind.
Pretty much. I mean, like somewhere where you have those elements in nature at the available.
Right. So, all right, let's put ourselves in a situation that we're camping and
we want to protect ourselves. So, say we're on a lot of people do retreats, especially for mental protection. Just something. So maybe we're not looking to protect ourselves from one person specifically, but just creating a stronger emotional barrier, not letting things affect us as much.
Right.
So now we've got a really strong intent. It's not going to have any effect on anyone else besides ourselves.
Right.
So we're out in nature, we're communing with it, and we've got a feather that... Let's say it's a white feather, because we're not necessarily trying to get rid of a negative behavior. We're trying to bring in a thicker skin or something where we're able to... You look like you have a little revelation. Go for it.
No, I'm on the opposite end. Okay, let's say that we're working with a black candle.
Okay.
We're going to get rid of something negative, okay? I've got a black candle and I've got a black feather.
Okay.
All right? The thing that I want to get rid of... All right? I've got it inside of me and I know it. And we all know you go from knowing to feeling.
Right.
So I feel it and I push it out through my breath into the feather.
So you blow onto the feather.
I'm blowing through the feather, actually. It's actually up to my lips.
And you're releasing
I'm blowing it through the feather.
The feather has become a filter.
Yeah.
And it's going to
eventually
catch all
I'm
that negativity.
I'm going to wind up burning that feather.
Because it's caught all that negative nastiness.
Yeah.
That's cool.
See? So now we're incorporating an air element. Okay, and even after we burn the feather, we could take those ashes and scatter them to the wind. There's
or
more
into
wind.
the water.
Or into the water. Yeah, I could do that too.
Or you could bury the ashes.
No, we could bury the candle.
There you go.
Far, far away. See how we just incorporated all of our little examples into one spell?
And this is going to be really easy to do where you start to realize that it's, I've got this one thing, but I need to do something with it then. Mm-hmm. And that's when you start to go, I could go into so many different directions. That's where the homework comes in. And you start realizing, oh, crap, then I want to add this extra element so that that's also involved. And then it builds itself.
Right. But again, you don't have to go that extreme where it's a 4-way thing.
Right.
If you're only going to go one out of the 4, just realize that fire is fast and doesn't last very long. Earth takes forever. Okay. Mm-hmm. But once it comes in, it's in. And then your water and air, the timeline is kind of, we don't know exactly. So, having the power of the 4, that's the making of a kick-ass spell right there.
Exactly.
I like that one. But outside of those, I have some more things as far as tools that we haven't really spoken about for protection. I don't know if you want to hear what I have to say about some stuff.
Absolutely. I just wanted to go before, because you've got this great little list, and I have one in particular, because I like hearing our favorite protective things.
Okay.
I mean, for me, I like the talismans and the amulets. I especially like the evil eye bracelets that I have.
Okay.
One, because it's common enough place that people aren't going to be weirding out when they see it.
Okay.
A lot of jewelry places carry it now. But it does have a subliminal, immediate knowledge. You see that, it's the evil eye, everybody sees it, you're trying to ward something off. So it's a conscious and subconscious ward, which I enjoy. But my nastiest, meanest, I love making them when I get the chance, is my witch's bottle.
Do it.
That's my favorite one, because it literally is all the nasty, crazy, everything gross that you can think of. It doesn't have to go into horrible, but for me, I go full on hog with that. I want, rotten meat. I want
I like
everything horrible in there, because basically what you're doing is you get either a mason jar or something that you can put a top over it. Mm-hmm. Then you're going to collect as many spiky, rusty, sharp instruments of nastiness. These are all symbols of the negativity that you're trying to attract to that bottle instead of yourself.
Right.
Traditionally, they would also add urine.
Okay.
Or some sort of other bodily fluid from either the witch that is creating the bottle and wants to protect it, or if they were trying to protect against a specific person, from that person.
Okay.
So back in the days when, stories were made up about this, but they were finding actual witches' bottles, they'd say that the witch that had been targeted would be writhing in pain if the bottle was ever broken.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of fun folklore behind this, but once you've collected everything nasty, and I include rotten meat because it's not just the sharp, mean nastiness from people. I want that putrid underlying hatred. So I'll take everything gross. I did put pee in there. I know it was gross. I put, cat shit in there.
Okay.
Again.
Here, kitty, poop in this bag.
But then you have the option. You can do this. You can do this beforehand, before you start adding everything. Put a mirror at the bottom of it.
See, that now you're turning that into my reversal box, and I'm a big reversal girl, so yeah.
So it has the option.
Mirrors are wicked.
You can either do it where it just absorbs the negativity and it can be released into the earth, or you can do the reversal aspect of it, and whatever is being targeted at you is going to bounce off that mirror.
Yeah.
So once you've filled this, once you've completely contained it and everything, some people will enclose it with wax to seal it and make sure that only you know that you've completely closed it and everything, and then you bury it on your property.
Okay.
And you want to bury it on your property because you want it close enough in vicinity that it's going to be able to attract whatever is being directed at you.
Okay.
and that's a witch's bottle.
That's cool. That's cool. And, I've spoken of my reversal boxes a lot before in the past, too, and I hear that there's a lot of conflicting opinions on reversal boxes, because basically when you use a reversal box, which is just a black box, and on the inside of it's lined with mirrors, and you are putting the person who you believe is doing you harm, you're basically putting them inside of this box with affirmation, all kinds of neat things. And once you close this box, it forces them, all of the energy that they've sent your way, you're sending it back to them. And it's very reflective. So they're actually getting a taste of their own medicine. And I'm a big fan of those because I figure that that's how people learn lessons. However, there are some people that do recognize magic, okay, and they realize what you've done. And if you are going to war with an educated practitioner that keeps continuing to throw you harm, and you're throwing it back at them, it's now becoming more like a battle, a water balloon tossing contest, and eventually somebody's going to lose. Okay, and you really don't want it to be you, right? And it's really a big waste of time and energy. However, knowing your opponent, if you know that they really are clueless and your intention is just, I'm not trying to harm you, but you really do have a lesson to learn.
You gotta see you're being a shit.
And now if I'm going up against somebody who knows what they're doing, and they're throwing shit at me, I would much rather just, you know what, I'm going to end this game right here and now. Right. And I'm going to manifest all this shit that you've thrown at me, and I'm going to push it into the earth, where it then becomes neutralized. Okay, and game is over.
Right, and it has no effect on you.
It has absolutely no effect on me. So that really is a matter of preference. So yeah, and I've spoken about reversal boxes, and I'm sure I'll do it again in the future. And I don't want to push it too hard because they're not to be taken lightly.
It's a serious against the person. It's not a general defensive mechanism.
Well, and the reason why I tend to preach a lot of caution about it as well is that there are some people that do it they just have a lot of vengeance in their heart, and they're really, really angry, and they want to hurt that person as much as possible. Well, the scary thing about reversal boxes is once you put somebody inside that box, they cannot be released from it unless you open it and allow them release. Mm-hmm. So put in the hands of an individual that's just a cunt
and holds a grudge
forever, that is not cool. It's really, really not cool.
That's binding.
Well, binding, in my opinion, binding is more of a surface spell in comparison to a reversal box. Reversal box is like indefinite, deep, and heavy. You know, the kind of difference.
I don't know. I could see binding being pretty deep and heavy if you do a deep and heavy binding.
Depends on the binding.
I mean, like, if you look at just the literal term of what a binding is, then a reversal box is binding them to that reversal.
A lot of times, too, people will even incorporate the freezing spells as binding spells. When you fill your ice cube tray, which is another water spell, by the way. Fill your ice cube tray with water, and you actually put the person's name and all kinds of information into it, and you allow it to freeze. And you can actually put them in a baggie of water, drop it in that baggie of water and freeze it, and their behavior freezes. But the thing is, it's typically for a short period of time.
If you want to release it, they suggested that you can wrap whatever the paper that you're writing the name on in foil. Okay. Do some sort of way that it stays from getting wet. Mm-hmm. Then you can burn it. Okay. And fully release it once you're ready to be done with it. Okay. I mean, like, once you de-thaw it or once you release the freezing portion of it, most of the time that could be considered the actual release. But I like making sure that it's really gone. So if I need to do that, usually I'll burn it.
And again, I'm kind of against the binding and banishing spells because
I don't do them, but I know of them.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind doing one on myself.
For behavior.
Right. But to do it against somebody else, they don't understand why their behavior is frozen, why they're not doing it. But once it does wear off, they go right back to it. They don't learn from a binding or banishing spell, in my opinion. I know there are a lot of people out there that will disagree with me, and that's okay. And if you want to fight me, then fucking come find me. That's all good too.
It's a good thing to have in your back pocket as a security defense mechanism, but it's not something that you throw out on everybody on a consistent basis.
No, and if you feel the need to, you need to grow up. Yeah. You know, you've got serious fucking issues. If you think that the whole world is against you all the damn time, you know, then maybe you need to take a closer look in the mirror. Do a reversal spell on yourself. Stick your shit in there. Okay, let's get off of that crap. All right. Some more. Oh, before I forget, and I go into these other little tidbits, these additional little tools. Do you want me to tell you about that one spell? And I think I've told you about it once before, that anybody can do that doesn't require any type of tools at all. Okay. And I was introduced to, and this was a spell. It was actually freaky cool. I think I was maybe 16 years old at the time.
So this was like very beginning days.
Yes, yeah, it really was. And it was a situation where my girlfriend wanted me to come over to hang out with her in the evening time. Okay. And for some reason, I was getting a really bad vibe that I should not be walking outside this evening. Okay. My instinct was telling me, you know, something bad is going to happen. So, and I expressed this to her, and she's like, well, I can tell you something to do, and that will get you from point A to point B safely.
Nice.
It's like, okay, you know, and even back then I've always had an open mind. So it's like, tell me what you got. So it was, even though I was on the telephone with her, she had me close my eyes. Okay. And she talked me through this. And what I was to envision was nothing but black. Okay. I see nothing at first. It's just to clear the slate. And then I wound up seeing a little gingerbread picture of myself, gingerbread man, you know, just a little white figure, you know, and I knew it was me.
Yeah, as long as you can visualize this is the representation of me.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, that's me right there. And it went from that to understanding that was me. And now I could actually see through the eyes, so I could see the black again. All right. Now I envision a bubble. Like, you know, you blow bubbles and stuff, that kind of a bubble. And it is huge. And you are actually standing on top of a bubble in this black space.
Okay.
The space is still completely black. And the bubble is about the size of your living room that you're standing on. Okay. It's huge. And before you go to the next step, jump up and down on your bubble. Notice that you cannot pop this bubble.
Okay.
Okay. You can stomp on it. Just once you feel safe that it's not going to do anything.
And you know it's there and it's real and you can feel its bounce. And
as soon as you're fully aware of that, you're going to reach down with both of your hands and you're going to grab the sides of the bubble and you're going to bring it up around yourself so that it totally encloses you inside of this bubble.
Keeping the size the same?
Yes. So it is.
Imagine this huge ass bubble around you.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be the size of your living room. It could be the size of your bathroom. You know, it's just it
envelops you.
You are in your snow globe of your bubble. And again, even though you are inside of it now instead of on top of it, touch it, feel it. Make sure that you can't pop it because you can't.
Right.
There's no such thing as popping this bubble. So you're playing with it, jumping on it, okay? And now you're at this particular zone. The next step actually incorporates a sword. So you are going to picture yourself holding the hilt of a very large sword, pointing down, okay? And what you're going to wind up doing is you're going to slowly pierce the bubble with your sword. The bubble will not pop, I promise you. So don't be afraid. You're going to pierce it and you're actually going to press the hilt down till the sword is about halfway through this bubble. Okay? Once you have done that, you're going to gently release the hilt, okay? Put your arms down to the side. You are then going to open your eyes and don't move. All you're going to do is open your eyes and see how you physically feel at that moment in time. You will either physically feel very heavy or very light. It's cool. If you feel very heavy, you need to close your eyes again, go right back to where you were. grab the hilt of your sword and you're going to pull it up a little bit. Okay? Let it go. Put your hands back down by your sides. Open your eyes and see how you feel now. If you are too light, you're going to go back and do the opposite. You're going to press the sword in a little bit. You're going to continue to do this until you feel very stable. Okay? Once you feel that, you can open your eyes, you can move around. The feeling is fucking amazing. And I know
sounds cool.
Just to listen to this doesn't do it any justice until you actually do it. Anybody who has any doubt, just to play with something this simple, you're not going to do yourself any harm by doing it. I promise you. You're not summoning demons from hell by doing any of this crap. You're not brainwashing yourself. You're not hypnotized to, take off your clothes and run down the street screaming naked. Okay? It's not that. No, it is more of a matter of washing away all the fear, all the doubt, all of that shit, and a really strong sensation of calm and peace and protection comes about you. I walked to her place and I felt like the Jolly Green Giant. I felt massive. I felt invincible. And I had, even when I would hear things rustling in the bushes, I just look over at it. I'm like, fuck you. And I just keep walking. Try it. No tools necessary. None. And it fucking worked. It is one of the more positive spells that I was introduced to at a very young age that was very, very powerful and successful. Okay? But I had to share that because that was such a powerful experience for me that I hope that people try it. And I'd love to hear back what people's responses are, how it made them feel. So if you haven't done this yet,
no,
you're going to have to try that.
I'll get back to you on that.
Do it!
Do it, damn it. It's not going to hurt you, I promise.
Like a mouse.
All right, so you had a couple little other additional
Protection
ones.
stuff. Yeah. Fun stuff. Okay?
I mean, I love making sachets.
Sachets are freaking amazing. And that's actually in here, too, with all my stuff. But let's... Here, I'm just going to flip through. How about red brick dust?
Ooh.
Yay.
So that one's new to me.
Supposedly, evil cannot cross the line of red brick dust.
Okay, so Supernatural's got it wrong with salt.
Well, think of salt as more purifying and cleansing.
Okay.
Red brick dust is more protective.
Interesting. So now we know the difference.
Well, and there are different forms of different tools of protection. So if I'm actually going for hardcore protection and I want salt, I'll actually use black salt. Okay?
Which is really cool.
And I make my own black salt. And yes, so salt is cleansing and purifying. Black salt negates. Not only does it keep it clean, it negates any negativity. Supposedly, red brick dust does the same thing. And it's actually made from soft clay bricks from older houses, not your newer bricks. So you can actually go out to the old houses that are falling down, and you've got the big chunks of brick
Detroit's
that are falling
got
apart.
An entire infrastructure of red brick dust.
Yeah, that old, softer clay stuff.
The one that falls apart.
Take it and crush it. I have a little coffee blender thing that I use only for hard stuff. I have one for resins, and I have one for red brick dust, because I make my own red brick dust, too. Yeah, but you can actually take some of this red brick dust and add it to some of your floor wash, whatever you use to cleanse floors. Mm-hmm. And you want to scrub your thresholds outside of your house. So your porch, the entryway in, your front steps kind of thing. So that anybody coming up to the front door, it's like that vampire no cross zone.
Yeah.
They can't, they don't like that area. And if you don't feel like getting down on your hands and knees and scrubbing and stuff,
use a besom.
You can actually take a line of red brick dust and do it on the outside of your door.
Right, so it's not getting brushed in.
Right, that red line right there. That is your no vampire crossing zone.
Nice.
You're not allowed in. So red brick dust is one of them.
I've got one.
Okay.
Witch's ladder.
Okay. Tell me about your witch's ladder.
I like witch's ladders. It's another one of those where it can either bring in or push away, but it is basically just a charm bracelet that you hang outside your house or around your area. So it can be Ours are just the different colors, the length of it, the number of ties and knots that you put into it, the different symbols. So if you've got something that you want to ward off, then you could do something where it's like maybe an upside down mirror.
Cool.
Just so that you can make sure that things are being warded against you. Or you could put a black feather, or you could put all these different symbols for what you feel is going to either protect you if you want to make it a protective witch's ladder, or if you want to make it a beneficial bring only good things to me ladder.
Cool.
So
I've never made a witch's ladder. Yeah, we'll have to have a sit down and
it's like a macrame night, basically.
Yeah,
you just
I'm
get
all
together
about the arts and crafts, baby. Let's make my living room look like a war zone. I'm good with that. Okay, iron. That's kind of
very
cool.
important,
especially considering that we just spoke about psychic vampires and shit.
Yes.
Supposedly iron directly on your skin. Okay, not like around. But if it's directly on you, it repels your psychic vampires and the
fairy
energy. Absolutely,
chaotic, random energy.
Mm-hmm. And iron really grounds you. So it's and it works basically by shutting down your psychic centers.
It's kind of like an anti-magic.
Yeah. It says
it's like the kryptonite to fairies,
right? Yeah, and psychic vampires though too.
Yes.
It's kind of cool because vampires feed off of your energy force,
right?
And
so that transference gets blocked.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of shuts it off for a minute, so they're feeding on nothing. So they're not going to stick around and continue to feed on you.
So
it's kind of neat.
I've noticed that a lot of things like coffin nails and railroad nails get included a lot because they were made from iron. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing that I want people to notice when that specific thing is brought up, is like a lot of the times they're looking for an iron nail of some sort. Mm-hmm. Just because it's got that effect, and a lot of times because it's pointy, it's sharp, it's going to be a direct thing. Mm-hmm. Versus just, like a slip of iron or, a little quarter of iron or something. Yeah. There's that directional energy, point.
And speaking of your directional energy, iron horseshoes.
Over the door.
Yes. Great protection, pieces too, and you'll have your people that say that the point should be facing
up or down.
Or down, depending on, and either way is accurate. There is no right nor no wrong way. From my understanding, if it looks like a U, it's
accepting.
Yeah, and it's from the universe. So all of your luck and all that protection falls into that little cup. Whereas if it's upside down,
it's defensive.
It's everything that you're manifesting. It keeps it under your umbrella, kind of thing. So, yeah, it doesn't. In my world, either way, iron horseshoes, no matter how you want to place them, they're really good.
They're good for
protection and that kind of thing. Above doorways. And for all of the mystical people out there, this is one of my favorite ones. Mm-hmm. Gargoyles.
My favorite.
Yeah, I kind of figured that maybe you'd appreciate that.
I've always had a gargoyle at my house.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, my guy's sitting right up there too. And even though I'm typically not one that, falls prey to,
the
that
kitschy stuff.
Yeah. I've always had a deep appreciation. I think it's from the old cathedrals and the massive,
They've had that purpose for hundreds of years. Like, that's something that's just stuck around through pagan tradition to Christianity. Even the Christians held on to it.
Yep. Gargoyles, and it's fabulous, too. If you can go to one of those garden supply centers, and get a big, massive concrete gargoyle that looks all gnarly, you can get the really cute ones, too. But if you really, if you want to get the little lady who's got her nose in everybody's business and just causing a bunch of shit, put a big-ass fucking nasty-looking gargoyle that will eat her and her dog as they're passing by, and I promise you she won't stick around your front yard for very long, because she's going to be scared to death of you. Gargoyles actually not only can protect the outside of your home, but the inside as well. Mm-hmm. And I've even heard of people putting them as soon as you walk in, they're above that door looking in, and you don't even know that you've got a gargoyle that's actually following you around the house. And you either behave yourself or the gargoyle's going to fuck you up.
Exactly.
The gargoyle energy. So,
I have a gargoyle named Sven, and I've had him for years.
Okay. I have my little guy right above my workstation up there, and then I actually have another one inside of my curio that protects a lot of my important tools, too.
I have a cargoyle.
A cargoyle?
Yes. He's a tiny little guy, and I got him from the Ren Fair. And then Casper broke his wing.
Oh, no. Bad. Okay. Yeah, gargoyles are a lot of fun. You know, a lot of people... They like the dragons and stuff too, and I'm pretty sure that could fall in the same vein. You know, if you wanted.
I mean, the Chinese had the lions,
right?
And it's pretty much like the guardians of the area, and that's pretty much all they're there for, is just to be that big scary creature that's going to ward off nastiness.
Yeah. But even the small little fun playful ones, they can still do a job. You know, even though my little dogs here, they're not going to do any great damage, but what can they do? They can alarm me when negativity is around.
Right.
Same thing even with the cute little gargoyles. And the thing is, it's just like with your stones, and just like what you were talking about earlier, these things want to be set to purpose. Okay? Instead of just buying it and sticking it there and just letting it collect dust because it's cool looking, give it a fucking job. And say, all right, you know, I bought this badass gargoyle. And it's not going to just sit there amongst the flowers and look pretty. No, it's actually meant, I'm going to tell it what it's going to do. You are here to protect my house.
Yes.
That's how you're going to earn your rent. I paid a lot of money for you. I'm not going to let anybody deface you or hurt you. And this is your job. Name it if you want to. Yep. It is now a pet, and it has energy to it. But you have to wake it up, and you have to tell it what to do. So gargoyles, that's a lot of fun. How about what's a deity that comes to mind? A good protective deity?
Demeter.
Demeter? Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't know much about human deities, okay? But the first one that popped in my head was Hecate.
She's a grouchy protector, too. I mean, like, she's kind of like, she's spiky.
Yeah.
It's like, you fuck with her, and she's all sorts of down your throat.
Yeah. I mean, there's... Yeah. And I know we could sit here all night too talking about human deities and stuff, but I had to throw at least one in.
I mean, just even having your deity representations, it doesn't always have to be a little statuette of the deity,
right?
Like a lot of people can't find one that they like of their deity, or it's just they can't afford one or whatever. As long as you have that representation of it in one way or another.
Take a picture offline and print it out and stick it up there. That works just as good. Or like if I can't draw to save my life, but if I really absolutely had to, I'd try. You know, as long as you know who it is and she knows that it's her.
Right.
Fucking, she looks like she's got lopsided boobs. Who cares? You know?
Oh my.
That's okay. I had to throw one animal in there.
Of course.
This kind of goes back to people that are starting to get to know me. I'm not all about protection. I'm more about empowerment. Mm-hmm. Okay? Protection's good and all, but I feel as though you need to, if you've been injured in any way, you need to come home to a safe zone, lick your wounds. You need to heal, get strong, and then if you want to protect, then you can afterwards. And believe it or not, I actually chose skunk. I chose skunk for this one. Not only is it because it's my animal within, but it is, skunk is the animal of reputation. Okay? And what I mean by that is the fact that people are a lot less likely to fuck with you if they know you have a reputation of confidence, that you won't cower, that you know how to face adversity.
Everybody knows what happens when you fuck with a skunk.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, when it comes to working with that kind of thing, I chose skunk for a night. I don't know if you have a particular one.
I would choose porcupine.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, like, I like armadillo, but if you want to go on a similar aspect,
okay,
you don't fuck with the porcupine.
No. That'd be kind of foolish. I wrote down to play with some rue.
Rue is very happy.
Be careful of skin allergies with rue.
It's a very strong, pungent herb, flower, everything. I love the smell, but it's definitely like laundry soap on steroids.
Nice way of putting it. Wards off the evil eye. You know, keep your house safe. You know, grow it around the house. Just be careful. Again, it's pungent. It's stinky.
I like catnip.
You have all the neighborhood cats.
Yeah,
you will have no mice near your house at all.
I mean, like it definitely does have that sense of. It also wards off mosquitoes.
Okay.
Naturally. Okay. So there's just some like naturally warding off elements, and I think it's either air or fire, but I can't remember.
Okay.
I know I've got more herbs. Well, how about stones? I know that we talked a lot about black stones in general, just because a lot of them, I know that not all black stones equal protection, and not all protective stones are black. But it tends to be a good, like, quick, easy to remember color.
Okay.
So outside of that, what do you think about... trying to think of some other really good spells. I know Garnet. I really like for that one. You had brought that up last time about being more of a... It'll absorb it as much. So I like using... What about Carnelian also? A lot of the red stones, a lot more about empowerment and bringing forth that kind of like a spark of energy.
Okay. Yeah, no, who am I to say that a stone is not good for that? I think of Apache tear.
Yeah.
I think of obsidian snowflake. Or snowflake obsidian, sometimes people will call it that.
I do like the labradorite for the fact that it's able to kind of bounce off negativity.
And it heals the holes in your aura that have had some damage, and it, just like your little guard dog gargoyle out there, it tunes you into when negative people are approaching you.
Yeah.
It heightens your intuition. So that it's like, oh shit, yep, here they come. So now that I know that they're coming, I know how to prepare myself.
All right. We could do like so much more homework, but honestly, I'm starting to, hopefully what everyone can get from this is that a spell with intent is, as long as it has that intent, it's a spell. I mean, that's all that really it derives from, and then you just keep adding as you want to go. I mean, you keep adding to your recipe, make it more flavorful, add some salt, add some pepper, change things up, and the more you get into it and break it down, and the more homework you do, it'll build itself as you go.
It really does. And even if you were to start off with a simple little mojo, gree sachet type of thing that you want to carry on you in comparison to an amulet or talisman, there's so many different things. And that's part of the fun stuff. Is the homework. And right. Yeah, absolutely. And even incorporating certain runes into, your sachets and
symbolism
stuff.
And what they,
big.
You can do runes, you can do just Theban script. You could, when you're creating your own sigils and everything, looking into different languages, or you can use just different words from different languages.
Right.
So,
unless it's me and I'm like, I don't know if that's fuck or fook or what the fuck is that saying? Oh, it's fuck. Okay. It's like, I will learn another language, but I'm not going to incorporate it in spellwork until I'm very confident with it that I'm not like calling upon something that
fuck us.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Okay, what else? Well, shit, I think we've covered a lot.
There's a lot to do with spells, and we hopefully gave a good synopsis of just where to start.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to beat you up one more time, though, guys, too. Everybody knows I'm a big one. Protection is crucial, but it's kind of like, jumping into the sack with somebody. It's, protection is good, but you still need to be prepared for certain things, okay?
And have a response to that.
You need to be strong. Let's say it's kind of like sex for a minute. Just because somebody wants to have sex with you doesn't mean that you have to have sex with them, all right? You have to have strength in saying no. You have to be able to stand your ground and say no. And that right there comes from inside, having the courage and having the strength to stand up for something. that's empowerment, and I'm a big empowerment girl.
Finish it.
If you are only relying, if you only go to the universe and ask for protection,
it's gonna
stop it.
Yeah, there's not gonna be
stop
enough. There's not gonna be enough substance to protect.
Yeah, that's like building a wall around you. You know what? Eventually, if the enemy wants to get to you, they will learn how to scour that wall. They will get to you. So, meanwhile, while you've got that protective wall up, you are still armed with cannons and knives and machetes and fucking machine guns and that kind of shit.
Gather the cavalry for your defensive.
You are still strong. It's not like you're blazing away and killing everybody. No, but you're ready. You just in case. And again, we don't go out and we don't push any of our stuff, but if somebody comes up and punches you in the face psychically, you should be able to defend yourself.
Finish the fight.
Exactly. We don't start them. Finish that shit. I am the power. But protection, yeah. I mean, at least if you have to get into the whole protective realm, don't think you're going to escape that easy, especially if you come in and see us in the shop, because if you're talking, I got protection shit going on, I'm going to come right out and ask you, okay, what did you do for empowerment too? Mm-hmm. That's the balance. And I'm not going to let you off that easy. Blah, blah, blah. All right.
Last things. Please please stay tuned. Oh, wow, if I can do my PSAs correctly. We will be dropping an additional episode soon for just Beltane. Beltane's going to be coming up on May Day. That's May 1st on Sunday. So we wanted to release a separate episode just for those who want to get some ideas together for the festivities coming up.
Yeah, that's because I think you were saying we usually put these podcasts out once every 2 weeks, so that's when people are kind of used to like, a new one's coming out. Yeah, we're going to throw a surprise one in there for you, relatively soon. So just because you're hearing this one today doesn't mean the new one's not going to come out for 2 weeks. So Keep your ears right. Exactly. Beltane, the festival of intercourse,
maypoles,
and vaginas and penises and all that,
and debauchery. Go a main, go play in the fields,
horns and shit. Yeah,
there we go.
All right, guys. Well, it's been really, really awesome, and we've been getting a lot of feedback lately too. And thank you so much for all of it. Constructive criticism,
topics
good
again.
Or bad.
We'd love to hear what you guys want to learn about, and obviously we can be found on Podbean. Hopefully you heard us here. We are also on YouTube and iTunes, and like us on Facebook.
Yeah. All right. We will talk to you guys soon. We love you all. Take care of yourselves. Stay strong.
Blessed be.
Blessed be. Mwah.
Must be